Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm going on a call. Hi.
Howdy. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great.
I forgot you were all like sunny, tropical locale for a minute. Gang's all here. Wow. What a Monday.
Right on time, too.
I know. Holy cow. Just chomping at the bit. I can feel the energy from everybody ready. Love it. Let me share my screen. How is everybody?
Good.
Feeling chatty? Okay, everybody, take a turn and tell me how you're making out, anything from your profile to your content, any thoughts, questions, concerns, ahas, wins, and showing up as a win. So you already have won. Mo, you go first because you're right below me.
Me? Oh gosh, it'll be a short conversation. I have not done a thing. I have been ridiculously busy on with so many things that are not making me money that it's criminal. So
Oh, I hate that service delivery trap and the admin trap. But
No,
you're
I
still showing up and we'll meet on Thursday and we'll iron it out. No man left behind.
wonderful. Thank you, Carly.
Who's
I
next?
can
Anybody?
I can relate to Lori because I've been spending a lot of time setting up my lead magnet and funnel and really trying to refine my message. But as far as posting on LinkedIn, I have a few times and it's gone okay. Um,
What do
yeah,
you mean by okay?
well, like my traffic's down from a couple weeks ago, and um, I have to figure out a way to incorporate like fun photos to capture people's attention because those are my travel photos are the ones that get the most engagement.
Just
So
use it. Just use a picture.
I have to tie it into
Nah,
to
you don't have to. You can just use a picture and be like, put a camera emoji at the bottom, and be like, from my office for the month in Panama.
yeah. Yeah, but I don't want to, yeah, I don't know. It has to feel right, I guess, and not like that I'm just posting about traveling.
Right. Oh, I meant like you could just add it to any post.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, we'll try
Why
that.
why not? Here's a picture of my home away from home while
Mm,
I'm contemplating AI. I don't know. You could tie it in. It doesn't have to be a super deep tie-in, I don't think.
mm.
But also remember, we're going to have these other pieces going. So it's not your content first
Yeah,
soon. That
okay.
will that will be propping up the work we're going to be doing.
Cool. I'm
So
excited to hear
don't you
about that.
worry.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I'm pretty excited by how many impressions that I got last week. I posted every day last week and I've had like over 2,000 impressions, which I
That's
feel is
awesome.
really good. Now I'm imagining that we just need to be more consistent with that to see conversions because that's where I tend to go is,
Hmm.
but consistency is job number one, and it's very exciting to see actually people are engaging with the content. So I'm
Yeah,
happy. Yeah.
good job. Oh, and um, everybody, uh, go ahead. Feel free to share a link to your post in that little group I made, and then we can um, go and like it and share some love on it while it's hot off the presses. May as well.
Did I miss a group?
I made a group just with us on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
And so you could just grab
Mhm.
after you've posted, you can just grab the link to it and um, make sure that I sent it to you. And you could just post the link in the group, and we can go and give it a like, leave a comment, and why not?
Well, I don't see the group, but
Mm-mm. Mm,
I didn't
nope.
know there were groups on LinkedIn.
Yeah, they're not like I don't super love them, but for something like this, I think it works. Anyway, I'll figure out how to add you. I don't see Natalie or Lori in here or Jail. Yeah. Okay. Well, that explains it.
okay,
I will-
thank you.
How are
Hmm.
you doing, Natalie? You did lots of work on your content.
I worked on the back end, yes. I am slowly catching up with, like, my concern is always time commitment to get it done, sort of thing. And I guess the whole idea of why I wanted to do this is because I don't prioritize it, and then it just becomes something pushed to the side. So because I have homework and I'm imagining you making us do the homework, and I'm like, okay, I got to get this done, then it's motivating me to do it. But the next step would be to actually put into action and then to post. But yes, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the matrix grid, and it was really helpful. I think I just need to make some crappy posts now.
Yeah. Maybe
The time.
everybody could just in their rough draft section could just do like 3 crappy posts
Yeah.
from their matrix.
Yeah, I
Or
actually really like that.
yeah, do 3 crappy drafts in the draft section, and I have all your credit cards on file. So if you don't do your homework, I'll just ding you. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay,
I like
great.
it.
Hey, Robert, what about you? Anything new?
No, not really. I did go to post, but then I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I stopped myself because I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
Two things on that. One, I noticed almost every post on there has some kind of picture or graphic associated with it.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if that is a best practice. I think they should have some kind of picture or graphic within it.
I don't think you don't have to, that's for sure. I wouldn't let it stop you. It's probably the one or maybe also Twitter and Threads, but you don't need to have a picture. Obviously, you'll get some more eyeballs on it if you do have a picture, depending what the picture is. But like for you, you could just share. Are you familiar with Canva?
No, I did open it up there actually to look at it. I know about it, but I haven't
Yeah.
used it before.
Okay. Well, you could go over to Elements and you could look like happy citizens. You could grab a picture like that and do them in your brand colors and then slap that up if you want.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Or if you have like a graph or an infographic to go with what you're talking about, if it's that kind of a data side of it, you could use something like that. But don't let the picture thing stop you, because what I want us to do is get our stuff out there because, you can't iterate nothing. We have to have stuff out there and then we can make tweaks and we can get a little bit more picky with it. But the important thing is to just start putting it out there.
Okay. The second thing was my first post. I wanted to have a link to another article on the internet. So my understanding is that you shouldn't put that in the main body of your post because that'll take you off LinkedIn and their algorithms don't like it. So you have to put it in the notes or the comments.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I do that? I mean, it's a stupid question, but I'm a complete newbie when it comes to
No.
this. I post
Mhm.
without that stuff and say, see comments, and then I go and click on my own post and make a comment on it.
Yep. exactly.
That's it. Okay.
Yep. Exactly right. Now, if you're going to start scheduling a post, like, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but on LinkedIn, they have a scheduler in there now. So, down here. So when you do that, unfortunately, you won't be able to unless you remember to go at the time that
All
you
right.
set it for. So yeah, done is better than perfect. Put it in the post itself. It's fine. And it's all data. If you do that for a week or two and see, oh, is there a difference if I put it in the body of the post or if I put it in the captions? Maybe it's barely anything and it would be worth it for you to be able to schedule. Maybe it is significant, but we don't know until you just try.
Okay. And one more question unrelated to that, but I'm always getting a message from LinkedIn to try premium.
Oh yeah.
Just wondering if that is something that I actually should be doing, or is that
No.
not helpful at all?
No. You definitely, the only thing I would say is like eventually you might want to go to Navigator, but premium is barely worth it. There's barely any advantage, especially when we're going to start sending out those connection requests, because one of the benefits of getting premium is that it lets you look at who's looked at your profile, but that's just going to all be people that we're sending invites to. So it's what you get for it isn't worth it, in my opinion. So the next step up, which is Navigator, which is about $700 a year or something like that, or at least it was, is good if you're like really going to get deep into your prospecting and you really want to keep it organized and create lists and stuff. But we're a long way away from there.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay. Did I hit everybody? Yes. Okay. Great. So let's talk today about igniting your network. So this is the messaging strategies. Good news for this week is you don't have to implement any of the strategies. We're going to do that after next week when we're doing focusing on connections. But I want you to have the strategy built out so that when we start connecting, we'll be able to just roll out our strategy for messaging. But so this week, we're going to be talking about my philosophy for messaging, some best practices, what not to do, and then we're going to start brainstorming the different pieces of our strategy. Fork. To remind me that this is the fork in the road. This is really like what separates the people who are going to have success on this platform from the people who are going to feel like they're kind of spinning their tires. Sending out connection requests and even is something people feel a little bit more comfortable doing, but the messaging strategies is the component that most people don't want to do. And unfortunately, it's a pretty big part of everything that we're doing. So we've built our profiles, we're working on the content. All of those things are going to help us with the messaging strategies because when we connect with someone, they're going to look at those things, they're going to check us out, they're going to learn about us from the content dripping out, and it's just going to support everything that we're doing on the back end in messaging. Ideally and simply, what we're trying to do is build rapport and move them to the next step in your sales process or marketing process. That's it. That's all we are trying to get from this process. But there's a lot of dread around this thing. And I think it's because you may have been on the receiving end of some spammy cold messages that you didn't appreciate. But ultimately, I think it's fear that you're annoying or salesy or that you're going to burn through your network, or you don't have a plan. So you're kind of aimless. So after you are reduced to talking about the weather or something, you're like, well, what now? How do I go from, isn't it nice out, to give me money? Like that's a crazy bridge and it's one you want to jump off. You don't like it. And I understand that. But I think what we really need to focus on is having a strategy so you know what you're doing. Um, and remembering that what we're doing essentially on all of the pieces that we're building is delivering value. So you're not being salesy, you're not being spammy. And then think about our mindset when it comes to messaging. What is it? Why is it happening? How do people feel about it? In a way that we can feel better about it. Because if you're using it to deliver value, then what's wrong with that? It would be a sin if you didn't share your value with everybody. I saw this today or the other day on social media, and it was a salesperson who shared it. But I think everybody, you've probably heard the saying before, the fortune is in the follow-up, because so often people take the first no or the first bit of silence and then they just drop and they don't continue on. But you can see like people need those nudges. People are busy, people are distracted, people are working on their own stuff. And if they've decided to accept your connection request, they've glanced at your profile, they're seeing your content, and they're still connected with you, then there's a reason for that. It's because they want what you got. And so we need to find a way for you to share that in a way that feels comfortable. And I think this is important for two reasons. One is because the fortune's in the follow-up. So let's remember we have to keep going. But second is that this is cold messaging stats or cold calling stats. And what we're doing, and this is the first mindset thing, is not cold calling. These are not cold messages because of everything that we're doing on the front end to warm them up. So do they need to be warmed up more to be ready to buy from you or sign up with you? Yes. Yeah, of course. But they're not cold. We're not just like bamming them over the head with your sales message and expecting them to do something that's unreasonable or uncomfortable. Okay. In the like fortunes in the follow-up idea, I wonder like how many times would you message someone to say invite them to an event without them signing up before you would give up? Just like give me an idea with your hands or hand. How many times? You sent one out, didn't hear anything back.
Just
How
generally for an event? Yeah, one.
One. Okay. Say over 2 years, say you have an event a quarter. How many times would you send them out a message saying, hey, you want to come to my awesome event? Before you were like, oh, they're not signing up. I'm gonna stop asking them. Well, it probably is way earlier than this. But when I was putting this together, I was like, I wonder how, like, just to go forward a second, remember on the first day, we talked about the different, like how the goal essentially for LinkedIn is to move people off of LinkedIn, however that looks for you in your business. And the first example is Stephanie, who has in-person events every 60 days or so. And so I was wondering, I wonder there's got to be an example in her inbox of people that we've messaged and eventually moved, but it took a long time. And I found one today, and we invited this woman to an event, to multiple events, 9 times, 9 times. And then she went on the 10th. And then she was like, thank you. That was so great. I got so much value from it. So 9 times might make you like there, there was a little bit of other messaging in there, but basically that's like if she's not saying leave me alone or disconnecting, we're going to just keep going. And I think if that feels insane to you, I think it would help for you to think about your messaging strategy a little bit differently. Because I think of it like an email strategy, so email marketing. So if you think about it, you sign up for somebody's lead magnet and you get an email from them. And there's generally going to be a pattern or a sequence that they followed, like welcome, thank you, here's your thing. here's a little bit, next email, here's a little bit about me. Next email, here's like how my philosophy is a little different maybe than what you're used to. Next email, here's some proof, here's some testimonials. Next email, let's book a call or invite you to something. And then some nurturing until the next offer or the next ask, right? That's normal. We're used to that. You don't maybe open every single email. Maybe you do, but even if you don't take any action, you don't sign up for something, you're not mad at them. You're not like, can't believe they're asking me to come to this nice thing. Can't believe they're giving me this resource. Can't believe they're sharing their hard-earned wisdom with me. No, I mean, you take it or you leave it, or if it's not for you anymore, then you unsubscribe. No big deal. So if you think of your messaging strategies like that, um, while still being personal, because you're not, anyway, I'll get to that. I think that really helps. That helps me. It helps me when I'm sending the ninth message to invite someone to the same thing, to remember, hey, they could unsubscribe, they could leave, they could tell me just stop. But if they haven't, then it's consent to keep going, as far as I'm concerned. And I think Stephanie's event shows exactly that. No one's mad that you keep asking them to do this nice thing. Nobody is mad about it. Does that make sense, or does that terrify you, or thoughts, questions, concerns?
Would you do this if is it the same idea if the person's not interacting at all? Or are they engaging at all?
This person was, so this was over 2 years or year and a half or so. This person engaged a little bit along the way, like, oh, I guess I don't check my messages very much. Sorry. Oh, no worries. We'll let you know about the next one. Next one, nothing. Next one, nothing. Next one, oh, yeah, send me the link. Didn't sign up. Next one, send it. Then she signed up, so it's like very minimal. But she is acknowledging that she can log into her account, I guess, but that was about it.
Right. I feel like if the person's not responding, I would have a hard time, continuing.
Mhm.
And I was also wondering about, like, even specifically for Stephanie, because I have gone to one of her luncheons and I'm thinking, like when I receive a message, I think from you, I'm like, I don't even respond to it because I'm like, oh, like I've already been to one. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like, so in my mind, I'm like thinking that it's like, it's not a personalized message.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a personalized, are you personalizing each message to each person? Like a
For
copy paste?
something like that, no, just
Yeah.
by name.
Yeah, yeah, by name, copy paste sort of the message.
Yeah.
And then like in that sense, it's sort of like an email.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And she's a really dramatic example, I think, because she can only work with people on PEI. So it's very limited and small. And she's been doing the same event for 2 years. So most of us aren't going to be that constrained, right? Like if I'm sending out, I have a webinar in a couple weeks and I'm sending it out to people all over the country. And I'm continuously growing from, like they're just not going to they're not all going to get it once you're up to like 6,500 connections or whatever, once you keep adding to it, but she can only stay in the small pool.
Yeah. So you have to individually message all these people. There's no way to group message.
There's
Like
no
if you
way
have,
to group message that LinkedIn is okay with.
right. Yeah, because then
Um,
it becomes spammy a little bit.
yeah, unless you could do in mail. So that's you could set up like it's almost like an ad campaign, but it's going into their inbox and you don't have to be connected with them.
But you pay for that.
But you pay for that. And see, the beauty of this is that you kind of have to go slow by virtue of how many people you can connect with in 1 month. And the fact that you're not able to automate this stuff. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's kind of the beauty of it in my mind because businesses grow at the speed of relationships. And so this is kind of
Yeah.
like forcing you to dig in a little bit. Once you're
Mhm.
doing it for like a long time and you get more and more connections, then it's going to be, you're going to move away from that just naturally a little bit. But
Mhm. No, it's really interesting. Like I just haven't thought of this as a strategy per se. Actually just reaching out and being like, hey, I have this webinar or I have this offer that I actually think you would like. Um, and literally just offering it directly to them. It sounds
yeah.
so obvious, simple, yet frightening
Mm,
all at once.
I know. And if you just would let yourself do it the one time, you'll see that nobody is mad. Like the worst case
Mm,
scenario is someone saying, "Oh, no, thanks. I'm not interested right now." Like, no problem. That's thanks for letting me know. Um, that's the
yeah.
worst case.
Mm,
But what you do get is all of these people who have, hopefully seen your content, read your profile, know who you are at the very least, if they don't remember because you connected years ago, are going to see your headline, um, and, you know, think that, well, this is super valuable for me to go to. Thank you.
mm,
Um, and, maybe webinar is not for you. Maybe it will be eventually, but there are other ways we can motivate them and move them to different locations. So like for you, Natalie, it might be your website or your calendar. Maureen, I think you'd want to move people to your website, to your webinar. JL, you can move them right to your email list. Unless you have a webinar, you can offer them your lead magnet. Um, Lori, you would probably want to move them to your websites because they have to fill out a form before you speak with them, right? And Robert, I think you would probably want to move them to your calendar and do a sales demo kind of call with them, right? So these are some things to keep in mind when we're going to start building our strategy. So where'd I put the workbook? I sent you a workbook.
Ellie, you just cracked something open for me. And I'm not sure if it would help anybody else in here, maybe Natalie, maybe Mo, but I just like I have my clarity call and people get so much value out of that half hour that my strategy could be just, hey, are you stuck? Like with
Mm,
anything. Like that is like I'm literally we just have to offer, let people know I have a half an hour if you want to get a coffee and like um I could even look at it like a challenge, like try to stump me if I can't. Like,
that's yeah,
get unstuck. Because I hadn't thought about it that way. I'd only been thinking about like pitching the lead magnet or but if I think of it as like offering a gift of like, hey, free half hour in my brain, which
yeah.
is that.
yeah.
Like, what's the worst case scenario with
Yeah.
that? Someone doesn't answer. There's no way that's offensive to anybody. So worst
Yeah.
case, they just don't respond, and that's okay. They're just
Yeah.
not ready right now for your brilliance. They're like, she
Mhm.
she will blow my business up in a good way, and I'm not ready. So
Thank you.
I
That's
really
the,
like I really like that reframe, JL, because
yeah.
when I think of discovery call, I think of it as sort of a sales pitch, or like if I'm booking a discovery call with someone, like they're going to pitch their services, that's what I think of. But if you can frame it like you want to help them and you're genuinely wanting to solve their problem, like even in that 30 minutes, then they're going to be, and at the very end you can pitch something, but you actually help them throughout that half an hour. I think that's brilliant. That's a really good way to frame it for them and for you.
Yeah, I think that just like unlocked some because that is a
Mm.
giving energy and it will, yeah, yeah,
well,
thanks.
yeah, that's why having the plan and the strategy in your
Yeah,
mind is going to give you the clarity to be able to know all these steps that you're going to walk through. Understanding people, like if it's like your email list, that they're not all going to like hit reply and be like, love that email, like, very rarely. So you just keep going, delivering value. So
yeah,
all these three key parts that we keep going that make it so much easier to face. Um, and remembering like with our content, we're calling out people who are ready to buy now, but we're also nurturing people who aren't. So that's why it's so helpful to have that content piece going too. But I've said before, I'll say it again, that if I only had time to do one thing, I would be sending connection requests. But I just take for granted the messaging part because I just have my messaging strategy. So to me, those are the same things at this point. Whereas I understand if you're not in the habit of doing it, that might be the scariest part. But to me, it's like, oh, I'll sit down and make content if I haven't been a good girl and like sat down and matrixed it out and planned it all out. And to me, that's the scary part. Like, oh, it's gonna take an hour because I've not followed my own advice. So this is the philosophy pretty much in a nutshell is maybe I can make this bigger. We're going to have a strategy. So we're not just winging it, and we have an idea of where we want them to end up, whether it's on a webinar or your email list or your calendar or whatever. And we're going to have a plan to walk through that. So that takes out the scariness and the guesswork. We're going to emphasize relationship building and personalization in so much as we are sending these messages ourselves. But listen, sometimes you got to sell. Sometimes you're going to have to ask them if they want to get on a call, or, ask them to a webinar, or ask them if they want to take a look at the demo. But that's okay because you've given so much value. And because you've spent time building these relationships. Value driven all the time, whether it's our profile, our content, or our messaging strategy. That's why later on in not next week, but the week after, I think, we're going to be spending some time on lead magnets, some additional pieces of support that you can have to help people. Those are gold, and you'll never regret spending time on those. And if you have a website or you have content or blogs or whatever, then you already have everything you need. It's just about packaging it for people, so that you can deliver some help to people and hopefully, get their contact information at the same time. Consistency and brand alignment in your messaging. So I was talking to my brother today, who's the one who does most of the strategy or messaging these days, to ask, like, what's something you do? Because I know every once in a while clients will jump in during the strategy and message people, which is fine. It's their account. But what do they do that maybe you wish they wouldn't do that I should tell them? And he said, I hate when we're sending the initial message to connect and they accept their request and say, oh, thanks for connecting or something. And then the client goes in and just like thumbs up it. Because I guess that's like, to him, he's 13 years younger than me. That's so rude. Like giving the thumbs up, the like symbol is like, it's like basically an eye roll, stuff I don't know. Anyway, so that was his thing. And I get what he's really saying is it's like not part of the brand. Like if how you message on your content and how you message in your profile, how you answer your business phone, how you email, all of that has to be brought into your marketing strategy too. Where you're doing it for yourselves, it's probably going to be pretty intuitive, but and that's where the strategy will help too, to keep you on track that way. Relationship growth and non-invasive communication. So I'll talk about in the messaging all the different times that we can ask for consent all along the way, which is just another layer of it's just another layer of building that trust, and also knowing, okay, well they want to continue. And so when you think about it like email marketing, you're getting that sequence of messages or emails, sorry. When we bring that over to our LinkedIn messaging strategies, we just really have to tease it out. We have to make it longer because we can't send a 500-word email, so that first welcome email is like going to be 3 messages. We'll get into all that. But my point is that we're taking time and chatting with these people Just because we have some strategy behind it and a place we want them to end up doesn't mean that it's not, being intentional about growing a relationship. So does that help at all with the concept of maybe I'm going to have to send someone 9 messages before I really hear from them? A little bit, I hope.
I think Carly, and I know Mo, back in the old days when when we were, I'll do those of us who did marketing in the old days, that the rule of 7 is the rule of 7 doesn't exist anymore. Like people have to hear from you like 30 times before they will buy from you. So this is hitting because the 7 times doesn't, it no longer works. It's a lot more than 7 messages. 7
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, I used to tell people between 5 and 7 times
Yeah.
before someone heard their name or until they were a sold customer. But
Mm,
I guess
yeah. And it's like with so much in marketing, no, in life, in growth in general, is like the prize mostly goes to the person who's consistently showing up. Like you can go to the gym and have like the perfect routine once a week, or you can go 5 days a week. And even if you half-ass it, you're probably gonna do better. The person who keeps showing up with their content, even if they're not going viral and it's not like the most amazing stuff and like Forbes magazine's asking to share it or something, probably going to get further along than the person who does it once. What did you say? Like a year?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
1 to 2 years, 1 post a year.
Yeah. I bet it was a really great post, but yeah. So that same with messaging too. We just have to keep showing up. And if you think about it, like I'm showing up for people to give them help, to be a resource to them, that really helps. So we're going to talk about with each different message, we're going to talk about like the time frame but generally, we're going to keep messages kind of short, 50 to 100-ish characters or words. We're going to be doing it ourselves. So that's where I put a doc in your folder, and it's just a simple doc, but this is what we use for all of our clients. And it's just like, okay, this is what we're going to send at this point. This is what we're going to send at that point. And then, you can just copy and paste a certain amount of it. Because remember, you don't get any prize for blood, sweat, and tears. So anytime we can automate as much as we can in this process, which isn't super a lot compared to other platforms, we will. We're going to go into all that in each section, so we'll just move on to that. Okay. So what not to do, like with each section, pretty much, don't overthink it. And in this context, I'm saying don't like decide you're going to connect with someone and then go to their profile, read all of it, click to their website and all their different social media, and basically like create a pitch based on everything that you've seen and spend an hour. Like you'll burn out, you'll waste your time. If they want to jump on a call with you or something, that's when you can spend some time researching it. And for connections, we'll get into, the criteria for who you're going to connect with. But other than that, we don't need to spend that much time on each person, even though every person is a child of God and we love them all, but we don't have that kind of time. We have non-money making activities to do, plus hopefully some money making ones. Okay. Don't think of this as cold messaging. I already said, but it bears repeating because that's a totally different thing. Like, does everybody get SEO emails? Cold emails pitching for SEO services? Somebody out there is teaching SEO agency owners only to do that. I don't understand it, but this is not that. And we'll get into why too. Well, essentially, it's because this whole strategy that we're going to do is jam-packed into one email that you didn't sign up for is the whole difference. So, yuck. Don't be afraid of silence. Silence is golden. I think they were talking about LinkedIn messaging whenever whoever came up with that. It's okay. Just think in your head, nine invites. I can do this. Don't feel you need to answer right away too. I don't want you to think you need to do something at all hours of the day just because someone pinged you. We're going to have our strategy, and later on in the program, we're going to talk about like a daily routine you can work into your workday. But you don't need to be like hopping in the DMs at all hours. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Um, there's always more people because of our strategy that we're going to be working coming in. So you don't have to be like, oh, that person stopped communicating or they ghosted. Like, that's it. No, there's always going to be more fresh people coming in for us to hone our messaging and our strategy with. And also, like all places on LinkedIn, don't be afraid to show personality and bring your voice over there as well. Okay. Any questions before I jump into the sections that we're going to be brainstorming? Okay. So this is essentially like, this is the roadmap. This is the collection of messages that we're going to be working on. And obviously this is like best case scenario. Everyone's going to like do what we want and move on to the next thing. But we'll have to be nimble and, communicate obviously in between and go off the cuff. But this is designed to keep us on track, especially if they're being silent or you're not feeling inspired or you don't know what to say. You're going to have your plan. And then you can, go rogue and chat with people as they ask questions and they want help and yada, yada, yada. So it starts with a personalized connection request, always. Then we're going to move into a warm welcome. We're going to deliver some context about who you are and deliver some value via lead magnet or other options that we'll talk about. Permission and consent really is throughout. So we can break up these into more messaging if we want. We'll talk about that. And then always keeping our end goal in mind. So that is where we're going to start. In your workbook, in your workbook if you want, or in the doc that I put in your folder, let's start thinking about the end. So based on this little slide over here, thinking about this, where do you want people to go? And obviously this is going to change as your business evolves and changes. If you add, like if you don't have a lead magnet or an email list yet, and you add that on, then you can tweak your strategy. But for right now, where you are in your business, what makes sense to you to move people to? And I just need to grab a tissue while you think about that. I'll be right back. This isn't the whole strategy. Remember, this is just where does it make sense for people to enter your sales process, basically. And does anybody need help brainstorming that or need a little bit of clarity around it?
Yeah, so I know where I want to lead them, but what am I supposed to do with that? Where am I?
Right, for right now, we're just
Yeah.
gonna jot that down so we can remember, okay, I want people to go to my website or whatever is that what your
Yes, thanks.
intent is?
Thanks, Carly.
Okay, everybody got that?
Carly, I don't have an email list, but it's definitely one of my goals, maybe throughout this program.
Mm-hmm.
Would it even make sense to bring people to a mailing list that doesn't exist yet that I'm creating now?
Yeah, you'll never regret growing your email list for sure.
Okay.
I
think that'd be a good goal.
think you could do that, absolutely.
Okay.
We will do that actually later on.
Okay, I think what I would need to do is probably send them to my website and it's reminding me that I want to put like, I don't think there's a subscribe to a mailing list
Oh,
option.
looky here. I have your website right here. You could just always send them to,
Yeah, they can send a contact form.
mhm.
But I don't think there is a mailing list option, which I think I would prefer because then I
Um,
can keep in touch.
yeah, I think, like, what's the first step into your sales process? That's what I'm thinking of. So, like, if someone's like, I want to give you money, what do you do? Do you hop on a call with them?
Yeah, they would probably, if they found me kind of randomly, they would probably send through the contact form, and then I would send them probably a few questions before that they would answer before a clarity call, and then they would book, and then we would schedule a call.
Okay. So the questions that you send them, is that just in an email or do you send them to a form?
A form.
Oh, okay. So then that, I think that might be your next step then, or your
Oh,
last step, I should say.
okay, so instead of booking a call, they could, I could direct them to the form that's
Hmm.
online that they could access right away.
You could do that. You could do that, or you could just send them right to your calendar and just chat with them. And then once they book, you can send them out the form email.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think I think that actually is a little bit
A bit
less
warmer
friction.
than
Yeah,
like, here's a form.
yeah. Do the work. Do work before you talk to me.
Well, it's kind of my strategy. I want to weed out the ones that are not serious.
Well, you could always do that. Like, they book a call. Great, thanks for booking. Here's my form.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you don't fill it out before a chat, we'll have to reschedule, kind of thing.
Yeah. I guess like the contact form, if I think about it now, they tell me what they want. Like they're looking for a strategic plan or whatever they're looking like a facilitation. And then
Hmm.
I send out a form that is for that purpose, so I can learn more about what they're looking for.
Mm.
So maybe the contact form is first because it just gives me an idea of what they're looking for. Because yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
and you
have,
can play around with it and see
yeah,
which, what the data tells you.
right.
But you will be messaging them in person, so it's not like there's been no touches all along and they're just winding up on a form somewhere. So they will have context
Right.
from you.
Yeah, this is like we've been in touch on LinkedIn and then they're on my website versus like some people have found it organically, which I'm always
Mm.
surprised by. And then there's no warmth there. I think that would be different than what you're talking about, which is to go through with LinkedIn and then they're
Hmm.
interacting and then they're brought to the website.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you're interacting with them actually,
Yeah.
you might already know what they want. That's why you
Yeah. Good
suggested
point.
meeting.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't know, play around with it. I am of two minds, but now I've talked myself into thinking maybe you just want to send them the calendar as your final LinkedIn messaging
Yeah.
destination.
Okay. Sounds good.
Anybody else? No? Okay. So, first message, and this is sent with your connection requests. Connection requests we'll get into next week, but the message that we're going to send with each and every one of them is sent along with the connection request. And just the idea here is to send a personalized message that quickly and cheerfully introduces yourself, explains generally why you'd like to connect, and yeah, is sent every single time. So here's a swipe file. So these are ones that we've used or ones that I've received or clients have received that I liked, or that have worked really well for us that you can borrow for your first invitation message. Some of them are a little bit different. Like this is someone who has asked you to connect, somebody who, but anyway, these three first ones are um, handy ones. This is the one, yeah, this one I have used this with so many different industries and so many different people. And this, like, I thought I'd listen, period, this time, winky face. Guys, it kills. It just, people are like, lol, lol, love the message. So go to town and use that if you'd like. It's just, I think it works because it explains why you want to meet with them or connect, ambitious business owner, or if you use like other women in business, other business owners in Nova Scotia, you know, that kind of a thing. It has a little bit of humor. It's not spammy. It's not asking them to do anything at all, actually. It's like hope to connect. It's up to you. Um, so if you want to use that one first and play around with it, if that one feels okay to you, then go for it. But this is kind of like the anatomy of a invite that gets a pretty decent, consistent across industries acceptance rate. So it's a great place to start. This is just a nice simple one too. If that's more your speed, that works really well. But the point is we want to send a nice, friendly, short message every time we send a connection request because two reasons. One is so few people do it that it really stands out. So it's a great first like tap on the shoulder. But second, and this is more pragmatic, every time you send it, a personalized connection request and they accept it, then it pops up in your messaging. So right away you can see that like even if they don't say anything, this woman Rosemary accepted my request, but she didn't say like thanks or anything, but it pops up in my inbox and now it's really simple for me to know I'm going to send her the next message in our strategy. So let's just spend a few minutes, whether you're copying and pasting this one or you have another one in mind, going into your doc and just putting that in there. This is shitty first drafts, guys. Don't worry about it. We have to have something to work on. So you can just plop it right in your invite message field. And I'll just give you like 5 minutes. You can tell me if that's too much or too little. Where the heck was I?
I think I'm gonna need some input from you, Carly, for the group, because as they said with my LinkedIn, I have a lot of people connecting with me, but they're other legal professionals, whereas I'm looking to connect with individuals looking for immigration legal services.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not necessarily people who are posting content. So I'm not, if I find somebody, it's probably because they're going to be engaging with my content through extended connections.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how to invite them to connect using some of the examples you've given, because they're not in my industry,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
without being salesy. I mean, I could connect. How would it sound if I said, hi, you know, this is who I am. This is what I do. I see you're asking lots of questions about immigration. I thought maybe you'd like to connect so you can follow my content. But
Oh,
that
yeah.
to me is like immediately going to the sales mode.
Yeah, but I do have a template for that too, because I think that makes sense. Like if someone is um engaging on your content or engaging on someone else's content that makes sense for what you do, then I think it's totally acceptable to send them a message like that. That would be something like, I thought I had one. Well, it's kind of a play on that, but yeah, would just say like something like, hi, name. I saw you commenting on this. That's my specialty, so I'd love to connect and we can talk more about that. Or even just, I would love to connect if that's a topic you're interested in. And that's as salesy as you have to get, but it's context. It's just short and sweet. Loads of context. I saw you, and this is what I do. Makes sense that we would connect.
Okay. Thanks.
Should you be trying to say, Carly, anything about who you are or why you want to connect?
we're going to do that in subsequent messages.
Okay.
But I think that is part of what loses people, is if we go in too much about ourselves. So we're doing it in a sense, in a little bit of a sense, because we're saying I want to connect with people for this reason, but it's handy if that could be telling them what the purpose is while also uh, complimenting them. So you're still not going in with like, this is what I do and this is how I can help you. We're going to break that up. We'll give everybody another minute, 2 minutes.
Are we doing all of them?
No,
Double.
just an invitation to connect.
Oh,
Draft. Reading. This is basically the template if you want to go off on your own. And, I've tried everything. I've sent I'm not a dog person, but I've sent dog memes. Like who you can do voice memos. You can play around with all different stuff. Just stick to one thing long enough to have some data, but you can play around, have fun. How's it feeling for everybody? Do you need more time? No? Okay. Well, tell me if you do, but I'll move on to welcome to the party. So this is just, we've talked a lot about this over the years and changed it. And now this one you're going to love. It's super simple. You're all going to say this. Thanks for connecting. Name, period, send. That's it. We're acknowledging that they accepted a request, whether or not they commented. So we pop up again in their inbox, but we don't, for me, going back to that relationship piece and that time piece, I would rather tease it out than just try and wham bam it all into one message. So as soon as you see that they've accepted it, when that pops up in your inbox, just thanks for connecting, name. That's all you have to do. Let it simmer for a little while. And what's happening, best case scenario, during a week or so before you go back and send them another message, is they're seeing your content. So they're learning more about you, because LinkedIn tends to show the new connections, your stuff. And also this is a great time for you to go, if they share content, and comment on their stuff or like their stuff and kind of send them some nudges that way. So we can just move on. You can plunk that into your doc. And then we'll go on to the next one, which is give value, show off that you're the expert. So I think Okay. So now we said thank you for connecting. Hopefully they've seen our stuff. And so this is where you can come in with a message that's more context and more like what Robert was talking about about what you do and how you help. So typically like a week later we'll go in with the message something like hi name, just wanted to I don't want to put words in your mouth. Basically, you just want to say, this is the kind of content I create. This is like my specialty that I talk about. Hope to see your content around, or looking forward to learning more from you. Let me know if you have any questions around insert your expertise, you know where to find me kind of thing. So we're just like dripping in, this is what my expertise is. This is what I do. This is who I help. Basically, you're expanding a little bit on your headline, inviting them to not do so anything specifically so much as just like letting them know who you are and what you do and letting that mellow for a little while.
We're kind of warming them up and getting in gradually.
Yeah.
And I've listed a number of different calls to action. So is that kind of like in this one, I might say, you know, this is what I do, go to the website to learn more. And then maybe the next one, I would say, if you're interested, download this paper or whatever. And then the third one, you know, if you find this of value, you can book an appointment with me. So kind of feed those in one at a time.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a little bit of room at this earlier stage too, like maybe between these two to or in this one to say something along the lines of like, oh, I just have a small goal of changing the world. You know, no big deal. This is how. Um, here's my website if you want to learn more. Looking forward to seeing you around here and learning from you.
Yeah.
Anybody have any roadblocks with this section? If you do, think about your headline, that kind of like, I help X do X without X. I don't think that's how algebra works. Or help X to get X with secret sauce offer philosophy. That kind of an idea. We're not getting super into the weeds. We're not going to do a big paragraph even. Short and sweet. I help service providers leverage LinkedIn to create their next sales funnel without spending hours doing content creation. That's mostly what I talk about on LinkedIn. Looking forward to seeing what you've got going on. Let me know if you have any questions about LinkedIn or marketing or whatever. Guys, that's mine, not yours. I wasn't trying to give you any ideas. It would be big F for fail.
So this is like not bringing them to the offer, but it's still offering to help, but kind of also bragging and talking about what you do. So like,
Well,
for
you don't have
instance,
to brag. You're not telling them any like testimonials or results or anything.
just what I do.
Yeah, like if you were at a networking event, if you were at a networking party and someone came up and they started talking to you, it would be so weird if you didn't say like, "Oh, hi, I have a line, we do this.
Yeah.
What do you do?" You know, that's basically what you're saying.
Right. It's like opening line of a networking event.
Yeah,
So that's what LinkedIn is. It's a networking thing.
yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
So
Bring your own cheese, bring your own drinks, but yeah.
yes, exactly. So could I say something like, I see that you're really busy, like running your business, expanding, doing all the things. If ever you need help, like would I offer, like if you need help prioritizing or planning, I help entrepreneurs get out of overwhelm through strategic planning. And then kind of ask, like, instead of offering something, just saying, like, what would you say your biggest pain points are at the moment as you're growing your
Yeah,
business?
you definitely can try that. So what I'm hoping here is we can get like the bare, like the skeleton of your plan, because it will make sense for you to do something like that if you see that they are expanding or whatever. Like it would
Right.
make sense that you would
This
do
is a
that
more personalized thing, you mean? Like
when you
you
have that information. Yeah. But you still will have in mind like not to do that the first one, the first message. But
okay.
maybe, but you're going in, it makes sense if you have that information to say something like that. And you could play around with it. Like sometimes we would have a question kind of like that um, earlier on, like, thanks for connecting. What do you find is the biggest thing that keeps you from mindfulness? But you have to keep it really, really easy to answer, because if
Answer.
people are going to be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what
Yeah.
is the hardest thing?" and they have to like edit it and blah blah blah. It has to be basically along the lines of like, "Are you a dog or a cat person?" Like something really easy if
Right.
you really want to get them chatting. Um, but I think that kind of a question would come a little bit later after
Later.
you have established more rapport and they feel like
I see. Yeah.
comfortable chatting with you about that.
Perfect. So we're still like low key, sort of not too personalized, not too deep. I
Not
go
too
deep too quickly.
Well, I don't know. Maybe maybe you'll find that for your people that does make sense. I just would rather play it slow than go in too fast but there's no like end scaring them, because we're just going to keep going. It's fine. But yeah,
Hmm.
I would rather tease it
No, I
out.
mean, it makes sense because I have had people contact me and come on too strong in that way where they're like, what are your three biggest fears or whatever it is? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like,
You know
what?
what
Are
you're
you
saying.
my therapist?
Yeah,
Are you going
yeah,
to
yeah.
send me a bill for this after? No.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, And so I'll have to make a note because I feel like I should have separated this. Because I think it's nice to make this two messages. So one is what we talked about here, and then the next one, unless they respond and like you have a nice chat and it makes sense for you to take a different step, then the next one would be going in and offering. So a week later, you go in and be like, "Oh, hey, I have this new resource that I made for people that helps them do this and from this. If you'd like it, let me know and I'll send you the link." So that would be when you introduce your lead magnet. So introducing your lead magnet or whatever it's going to be that gets them on your email list is the first like real action that we're asking them to take. And it's with a lot of value. So even then you're still giving, you're not going in for a cold ask. So I know everybody doesn't have email marketing or a lead magnet yet. So in the meantime, here's some things you might be able to offer them as value. And even if you have email and a lead magnet, there's times where you're going to have a webinar or something like that, and you're going to put that in place of sending out the email magnet or a lead magnet. So it might just be like if you published a blog or newsletter, or even just a piece of content, like a really helpful piece of content, you could send them that. So you're not so much asking them to move off the platform yet because of the kind of content it is, unless it's on your website. Invite to an event, provide a consultation or audit. So JL, your idea might fit in there. It might fit in there, and then later on you might offer it again if it didn't take then. Play around with it. If you have a case study for share success stories, I really just mean a case study. I don't think just being like, hey, I got these results, I don't think would typically work. It will come across as salesy, but you can play around with that if that's what you want to do. And then, of course, like if there's a timely reason to offer it, if there's a promotion or something happening, or even a new offer, you can go with that. So I would go in with this program, even though that's salesy, but go in with people and be like, hey, I'm doing this new thing. I'm really excited about it. If it's something that's interesting to you, you can check it out here. If it's not for you right now, don't worry. I'll pop back in with something else at some point, no worries. So even a salesy kind of thing can still be a casual share. Does that make sense? But creating some kind of lead magnet is really time well spent, because it's just really nice to offer something to people, period. And it's nice to offer them something that also builds your credibility and shows your expertise at the same time. But building your email list now, that that's something that you own, and the open rates are going to be way higher than the view rates on your content. You can share the same stuff. Like it's very, very handy, very valuable. And so spending time creating lead magnets is time well spent. We'll talk about some easy lead magnets we can pump out the door a little later too. So sorry, this should have been two parts. So does everybody have the first part done about their about me / headline kind of section? And then the next message will be your lead magnet or other option. Ooh, party. I don't know if I have that in your folder either. This one, content value messaging. So let's just separate these. This won't happen on everybody's. I don't know whose I'm in. So content context. This is what I talk about. Hopefully something is of value to you. If you have any questions, let me know. And then your value message, delivering an invite to some sort of resource. Okay. So you might get to the end of that road after you share your lead magnet or your blog post or invite them to a webinar, an audit, what have you. And then a week after they sign up for something and do it, if that's, if it's a webinar or something, then you follow up with how's it going? How'd you make out? Do you have any questions? Which is a natural thing that a leader would do. Hey, I'm following up with you because I care about you and you asked for this help. So I'm making sure that if you need help, you have it. Where the heck? I must have done this on some other doc and then copied the wrong one. Follow up. I'll put these changes in everyone's doc, so you don't have to worry about it if you don't get to it. Follow up. So basically, how'd you make out? Did you get your cootie catcher? Are you wondering, have you implemented it? And that's when the real juicy stuff can happen. That's when people will be like, oh, I didn't know how to fold it, or oh, I'm not sure how to use it, or oh, I feel stuck with this. And that's where you can say, oh, ask more questions. Oh, let's jump on a call to talk about that. Oh, why don't I do an audit for you? Or, you know, those next steps that are really, really natural. And that's where this can feel like too easy once you get in the habit. Okay. Then we want to get into quarterly check-ins. Now they might not be quarterly, but it just might be if you haven't had a webinar or some reason to reach out again to someone after you've like offered them the lead magnet or whatever the next step is in your marketing funnel to make a decision, and you want to like tap them on the shoulder again and have a genuine reason to. So this might be like, say it's the summer, and actually this worked really well leading up to Christmas. So in like December, early December, to say, hi, I just wanted to let you know, like I'm signing off for the year on the 23rd, but I still have room for meetings before then. So if you have any questions, let me know, that kind of a thing. For like a summer message, you might say like, oh, I know it's the summer and I've been mostly at the cottage. I wanted to just share some resources that I have. So maybe you'd send them like a roundup of some stuff, like a blog post link and a lead magnet, even if you already offered it to them, some value. So it's just you have a reason to pop in that isn't like, hey, how's it going? And you're again establishing that you're the expert in what you're the expert in and offering them value at the same time. So those are a great one to pepper in throughout the year, especially if you don't really have a lot going on as far as like inviting them to a webinar or some sort of event, of just like getting back into the top of their inbox and reminding them that you exist and what you do. So this could basically be a roundup again of your earlier message when you're offering, where is it? No, this one here. When you're, yes, this one. When you're saying like, hi, this is what I do, and this is how here's a resource for you. You can kind of like repackage that message again. And just remember, we sent 9 invites before they went. Like they're not worried about it. They're not going to be like, you already sent this general idea to me. They're not going to do that. With marketing, is just we want to have a message and we want to repeat it clearly and consistently. So pop in there and offer them some help. Maybe you have a new thing by then, and that's a great reason to pop into their inbox again. And then another one would be an event. Now, this obviously super depends on what the event is, but if you have a webinar coming up, then we want to invite them. And that's where you get a little copy and pasty, like we were talking about, Natalie, with Stephanie, because you have to send a message out 2,000 times. So, you know, the best you can do is swap out the name and put the person's name. Okay. So that's the quick and dirty of your messaging roadmap. Bearing in mind, we'll have to be nimble. Best case scenario, we're having organic conversations with people who are engaging with us, and it's going to flow naturally. Where it really helps to move people to the next step is by inviting them to an event or sending them a resource that moves them off either to your email list or to a webinar, some kind of event. So I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but yeah, setting up your email marketing and having a lead magnet, it would be super beneficial, especially for this giving part, which we'll talk about later if you do want to set those things up. How's everybody feeling about the messaging? So next week, when we are working on who we're going to connect with, how we're going to find them, you're going to be ready to copy and paste in your invite to connect. Does everybody have the initial invite message? Yeah, way to go, you guys. I bet you have this one too. Now, who has their content context? This is what I do. This is how I help. I don't see little Mo. Everybody? Yeah?
That one was a bit less, not as straightforward.
Okay.
It's like, so this is what I do, this is how I help. And then
That's it.
like, that's it?
Yeah. So if you ever have any questions about strategic planning, you know where to find me. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to seeing your content or learning from you.
Right, okay. It's like an intro to what you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's just we haven't really done that like with our connection request or our thank you. So we're just moving things along in a gentle way. This is what I do. Goodbye. No pressure. Because the pressure's coming down here. No pressure. Okay. So maybe we need a little bit more time massaging that one. And then this one I assume is trickier because depends if you have a lead magnet or an event or something in mind, that piece where we're moving people to our destination. Who needs help with that piece? Oh my God, everybody has it figured out. That's amazing.
No, I don't have it figured out.
Okay. Um, so in your workbook, if you want to just like do like a notes and just maybe draft it out, like what would make sense for where I want people to go until I have a lead magnet.
Yeah.
And then we
Okay.
can finesse it. Anybody who needs help with that, just get your brainstorming out, some ideas, and then we can finesse it together. Then this one, it kind of needs this one before it to make sense, but the general idea is just going to be like, how did you make out? And we'll work on this, but this is like weeks into messaging somebody. So we don't need this all hammered out before we get started with sending connection requests. But like I said earlier, it is very helpful to have like a general idea of what we're hoping to walk people through. But it's always like, that's business. It's once you have it figured out, you're going to be like, oh no, I have this completely new offer and I have to make a new lead magnet and a new webinar, blah, 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 blah. So don't get too caught up in it being perfect because it's always evolving. May as well just learn to go with that now. And then I'd love for everybody to think about like an event. You don't have to do it, but just think about an event, how that might look for your business. Would it be in person? Would it be online? What just start thinking about how you can use some kind of event to move people every 60 days or something. Just start letting that percolate in your mind. It's a really great way of building momentum. And with this strategy too, when you're sending people messages to go to, say, your webinar, it's great, obviously, if they sign up and they get on your email list. It's great if they sign up and they go. That's the best case scenario. But worst case scenario, they just got another nice hit of expertise from you and they got to see what you do again and you were top of mind again, you know?
And when you say event, you mean a like
Well,
a magnet type of event, not like that's what you're selling. Because I have ideas for workshops and stuff that would be like I would want to sell them to the workshop, but not that the workshop is a lead magnet towards something else. That
okay.
makes
Yeah. Uh, well, no, it doesn't have to be free. It doesn't have to be a lead magnet kind of like free webinar. Just anything that gets you in front of people. So yeah, if that's another offer you have and you, yeah, that would be great. Something that you can message people to tell them about. Like it doesn't always have to be where hopefully like just be nice and give value so much that when you come in with an ask or just to announcement, it's well received.
right.
You can, yeah, definitely. It could be something like that.
Right. But typically, do you mean sort of an event that is to generate
Yeah.
leads?
Typically that's what I mean. I'm talking about like a webinar or a
Webinar.
seminar in person or
Yeah, like what Stephanie does.
yeah, or a joint marketing event or getting on what's it called? On like an online summit or something like that.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, everybody, how are you feeling? You've got some ideas, maybe some things that need a little bit of fleshing out, but how are you feeling about the general plan, general scope of the messaging strategy?
I'm having fun.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Like if everybody could before they send messages could just like sit cross-legged and meditate and be like, I'm going to give these little cuties on LinkedIn just exactly what they need, that would
Yeah.
come through.
Yeah.
It might be crazy enough to work. Um, yeah, I have a theme with
Love it.
mine.
You
Yeah,
want to share it?
sure, I can share. So my invite message is, hey name, wait, that is the first message. Yeah, you strike me as an idea person with a big heart. Maybe that's why your profile caught my attention, or maybe it's ADHD and I have a squirrel emoji. Anyway, hope to connect.
Awesome.
And then for the content context, like after the thank you, I have name. Speaking of squirrels, did you know that one human year is equivalent to roughly 13 squirrel years? I know we've only been connected for a week, but that's like 3 years as a squirrel, which seems like more than enough time to reach out and see how you've been. If you ever have questions about furry woodland creatures or ADHD or how to capture people's attention through unique storytelling, I'm your squirrel.
So good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so yeah, and then the next one, so name, it might seem nuts to talk about squirrels on a professional networking platform, but here I am, and it's totally fine for me because I have an excitement brand personality. If I was a competence brand, that would be a whole other story. If you want to be free to talk about weird things in people's DMs, and who wouldn't, you should take my quiz. It will take like 2 minutes and it's pretty fun. I'd love to hear which result you got, so come back and let me know.
Awesome. That's so good. Yeah.
Fun.
Brilliant. Yeah. And then you'll even know if they sign up for it, then you'll know what brand they are. You can go back
Yeah.
in with that context. So
And
that's
I
awesome.
will have lost them if they are competence or sophistication by then, which is it's like an automatic way to rule out the personalities that don't connect with me because they'd have been long
Yeah.
gone. with
Yeah,
the-
exactly. But that reminds me of another really important point too. If that wasn't somebody that you wanted to just be like, okay, you've self-excluded from my universe, that's fine. If it was somebody that you wanted to like switch tactics a little bit with to capture still, then what we do and this is why this is such a fluid doc, is that then you'd be like, okay, what do I have in store for people who are the competence brands? Like, how do I want to pivot for them if you wanted to? What am I going to say if people say, oh, no, thanks, I'm not interested in that right now, so that you can keep, that's just like adding to it as things pop up. What can I add to my doc so that as time goes by, I'm going to have like fewer and fewer blank moments where I don't know how to keep this thing going. But ultimately, we can always just know 9 messages to get to the event and just keep on carrying on. But yeah, there's no reason why you can't be like, if this, then this.
That's fun.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm inspired. I should have more fun. Anybody else?
Mine is way too boring after that.
It only works for me because I'm weird. That's the only.
Jamie, it wouldn't work for me because I don't like squirrels. I had one right after.
Well, I said I sent the dog emoji to people, or a dog gift to people. I'm not a dog person. So
Has to be authentic. That's the whole thing.
yeah, I know I ditched it, but I was like,
Yeah.
people like dogs.
Everybody has to find their version
Yeah.
because it doesn't have to be funny but it has to be, just has to feel good. And this feels much better to me than, thanks for it just because it's weird.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and the theme is a really good idea too, like you said, with Carly's framework.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Jill, I gotta tell you, I have a little wallpaper I keep around for years and years and years, and it says, right or wrong, make a decision. The road of life is paved with flat squirrels who couldn't make up their minds.
That's really great.
That's a great theme as an immigration officer.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, Lori, it'll be fun next week to plan out like how are you going to find these people? That'll be a good challenge.
I have an idea. It kind of came to me I'm always great when I sit in these meetings and then I hang up and it's like it just drains from my brain. But I came up with an idea for a post that'll hopefully generate people that will interact. And I was thinking if I did a poll, like a LinkedIn poll, and with 3 questions. What the question is, how are you feeling about finding your PR pathway? And 1, easy peasy, I'm golden. 2, maybe left, maybe right. 3, yikes, PR pathway with a whole bunch of question marks. And then that hopefully will engage I'll invite them to make comments. And I do find people who are in the immigration process are always interacting. So that should give me lots of names to reach out to.
That's awesome. And do people that are in that process, they know what PR process means? I would think public relations, but would they know?
They would. Permanent residents. Yeah, I can. It's
okay.
Again, because you're in the midst of it, you know what it is.
Yeah, well, then that's a great way of speaking to them and calling them out. They'll know, oh, she's speaking my language. That's awesome. Good job, everybody. Any last thoughts, questions, comments?
Next week, you're telling us how to find these people.
Yep. And then it's showtime, baby. Okay, well, y'all are quiet today.
Thank you, Carly.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And tag me in your stuff if you want any other eyeballs on it. And it's a little bit shorter writing wise. So it's, unless you've been inspired to come up with the whole theme, which I have been, then you can spend some time writing your 3 shitty drafts and tag me in those too. And then we'll start publishing them and putting them in the LinkedIn group, which I'm going to add you guys to. And then it's really going to be showtime. Holy crap. Woo! I'm pumped. I can't wait to see everybody's stuff next week. Okay, I gotta go. My coffee's kicking in. I'm getting awkward.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.